Hello and welcome to Experience Recovery Conversations with LeisureNet. I'd forgotten what I was supposed to be talking about. And as I'm now proving, these aren't edited, so we're going to keep that in. It's not going to be a blooper. I'm really privileged to have been joined by a number of people who work at Brio Leisure, but today we're joined by Sarah. Sarah, can you just talk to us about who you are, what you do and where you do it, please?
Hi, so my name is Sarah Fassihi. I am currently in the role of Smoking Cessation Service Lead for the Cheshire Change Hub, which is part of Brio Leisure. I've been with the company for around, well, coming up, it's actually I think it was my 2-year anniversary actually, earlier in. So yeah, I've had a really sort of varied and a really enjoyable experience with Brio so far. And the last year in particular has brought lots of, varied experiences along with it. We'll discuss.
Absolutely, yeah. So the Cheshire Change Hub, that's part of the health commissioning activity that Brio does, isn't it?
Yeah, so we were awarded that back in 2015, and it's an integrated wellness contract, which we on behalf of Cheshire West and Chester Council. So as part of that, we deliver stop smoking support. We offer support for people that want to lose weight, and also support for people that might want some advice on exercising safely. And we also offer a falls prevention programme as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We've done an interview with the falls prevention team already, and it's absolutely fascinating. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a really good link, and that I've had the privilege of quest assessing a number of Brio sites, and this element that you do is so well integrated into the operation. It's really positive. So talk about smoking cessation role before we got into lockdown. What were you up to? You do?
Yeah, so a typical day for myself. So I was based over on our Winsford site. So a typical day might include having a clinic in the morning where I would meet with people wanting to stop smoking. Some of those people would be coming to clinic for the first time. Some would be appointments. We would use our clinic time to get to know each other, find out a little bit about why the person's here, what their motivations are for quitting. We'd look at what their thoughts are around using medication. We'd talk about behaviour techniques, and we'd pass on lots of tips around stopping smoking and give people as much advice as we could. A big part of the sessions as well would be we'd offer carbon monoxide testing, which was banned during for a certain amount of time. And for those eligible, we'd also offer a lung gauge check as well. So the sessions are really quite busy, but sort of as mentioned, key part and what I really enjoyed about them was just a great chance to build rapport and really get to know somebody. The afternoons, we might do a little bit of training, perhaps offering some awareness of smoking cessation at local youth clubs or at the high schools perhaps. We'd also do a lot of engagement type work. Another thing that I really enjoyed doing was maybe along to some of our local venues, for example, the charity Mind, drop-in sessions for some of their service users. So I might pop along, have a chat, speak to them about smoking cessation, if anybody wants a lung gauge check, and quite often that would then trigger, a conversation about whether they want to go on and, get some stop smoking support. So yeah, so it was really busy and varied.
Fantastic. So did you use physical activity as an intervention within that smoking cessation program?
Yeah, so we absolutely talk to people, and I think a real advantage actually for myself, and one thing I should have mentioned is that our clinics are always based in the community. So one of my clinics, so I'd run some at the local children's centre, one at our local mental health team. But my other clinic was actually at the Brio Leisure site itself. And what was really useful about that is people might come into the clinic room and say, "Oh, I didn't realise you had squash courts," or "Oh, I've just leaflet about this with swimming timetable on," and that's a really good lever. And quite often you find when people stop smoking, they do find that, as you can imagine, the fitness does improve, and they want to do more exercise because they feel the benefits that have come from quitting, and they are exercise, more freely than maybe they were before. It's also a distraction tool as well, I think.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I've never been a smoker, so this is a very naive question from me. But what's the main reason people want to stop smoking?
all sorts of reasons, I think. I think the number one reason would be health. So,
right.
The people that I've connected with, I think one person in particular was talking about how they've just noticed that their chest is feeling particularly uncomfortable at the moment, coughing a lot, and they're not able to sort of exercise without feeling some discomfort. So obviously in the back of that conversation, that was, I did chat with them about maybe they need to go and have a chat with their GP about that to make sure there's nothing underlying going on there. Health is definitely the number one. There's another factor. The average smoker might spend up to over £3,000 a year on cigarettes and all that money. And quite often when you point out to people what else they might want to do with that money, it's a real incentive to quit. Some do feel pressure from family members. We also, as part of our service, we do have an eligibility criteria of who we are able to support, and pregnant women fall into that category. Women, obviously, a big incentive is the health of their baby, and also a real desire to want to breastfeed as well. So all sorts of reasons.
So incredibly powerful, a really strong service that makes a difference to people's lives, which in a COVID world must have been really quite difficult to manage. So how have you managed to maintain the engagement with those people that still want to quit smoking?
Yeah, so really our biggest aim really was to make sure that what we offered through all our face-to-face work was sort of smoothly transitioned in a more remote world. But, our senior leadership team in particular put a lot of hard work and effort into making sure that we were set up to do that remotely. Even from the little things, making sure we had the right equipment, phones, making sure that I think at the heart of all that was making sure that the client experience wasn't affected.
Right.
And I think there is a slightly different experience delivering support over the phone than it is face to face. Obviously, you can't see the client. Actually, one of the advantages that has come from that is some of the feedback we've had, which I might be able to share with you a bit later on, is a lot of people say they actually prefer that, and they feel they can open up more on the phone than they could if it was face to face. And I think maybe delivering a remote clinic has brought is that it's some of those barriers to support. So in the past, people might not have been able to have attended a clinic because childcare reasons or because they couldn't get time off work. Well, that sort of has been eased slightly now.
Okay. And have you found more people wanting to quit during the lockdown because money available and things like that?
Yeah, so what we've generally found is that the number of referrals we've received have pretty much stayed the same in terms of comparison to last year. But what's really good is that there is a slight increase in the number of people that are actually accepting that referral and sticking with the programme. And again, it's probably for those reasons that I've mentioned, that a lot of the barriers were there before are now not. And also people as well are just, I think perhaps a few people have mentioned to me that the impact of COVID itself has just made them more aware of how important and precious their health. I think there's been a big focus on that too.
Right, that's really interesting. I love measuring and monitoring things and understanding how we've been successful. So is it clearly people have stopped smoking, therefore you've done your job, or do you have some sort of proprietary measures that add up to stopping smoking as well? How do you measure your impact?
Yeah, so it's really important that we measure people at the 4-week point. So 4 weeks after their quit date, we always have to record whether they've quit, not quit, or whether they're lost to follow up. So that's obviously really essential data for us. But as well as that data, we continue to support people up to the 12-week point of the programme. But we've made a real big effort as well to make sure we're recording lots and lots of really rich qualitative data through studies, trying to get lots of quotes as well about how people have found the experience. So yeah, there's a focus on developing our evidence base, especially the learning from this is so important.
Absolutely. And stories are so vital, aren't they? People just engage with the story so much better. Have you got an example of somebody you've worked with sort of since March the 24th of last year as to, actually their journey of quitting smoking?
Yeah, as a team, we've got a huge backlog of stories actually. I suppose one that maybe stands out for me, and I suppose maybe represents some of the impact that maybe lockdown has had, is a gentleman that I supported back in, I think it was May, June last year. So I spotted him for maybe a good couple of weeks, got to know him really well, really sort of friendly, relaxed character. One week when he did just seem particularly low, just not himself. So obviously chatting with him, trying to just find out kind of what's wrong. He just said he wasn't feeling right, he was feeling quite out of character. So I said to him, you know, you're going to have a maybe chat with your GP, just check everything's all right. And he was really reluctant to do so. So I said, well, you know, I've kind of got a duty to look out for you. So would you mind if I just kind of maybe just let the GP know that you're not feeling right at the moment? And again, he reluctantly agreed. But I did go and have that conversation. And really luckily, GP was fantastic and contacted the client that day. And then the following week, the client got back in touch just to say thank you, because it kind of turned out that his medication wasn't quite balanced in the way that it should be.
Right.
And he just kind of reported that he'd, you know, in that last week he'd had the best night's sleep that he'd had for a long time.
Right.
And that again kind of got him into a slightly better place, because he was able to, he said he'd been out for a walk that day, and he said really slowly and gradually, you know, he was kind of feeling like himself again. And he did reflect that, you know, things still felt tough, that he wasn't able, you know, to see his friends and family as much as he'd like to, but just being able to sleep again, being able to exercise again, to get back on track with his quit attempt, you know, had put him in a much better place than he was, you know, a week ago. So I kind of hope what that story maybe shows is that as advisors, we are there obviously to, you know, support someone to stop smoking. But we're also, you know, we can also pick up on other things that are going on in life. And I think the whole team would agree that, you know, we have been signposting people to, you know, for more mental health support than perhaps we were last year.
No, that's brilliant. And it also shows the power of conversation. Now, Sarah, I knew this would happen. We've got a couple of minutes left. So I want you to just talk about the things that you would like to keep doing, the stuff that you had to do because of lockdown, but you're now going to keep on with.
Yeah, so I think really, like, based on what we've seen so far, I think that this flexible approach to delivery is hopefully here to stay. I think an element of remote working is going to be, you know, really appropriate next year, and even hopeful whenever the time comes when COVID isn't quite as dominant in our lives as it is. What I'd like to see is that we continue to expand on our online support, continue to build on the training that we offer. I think there might be a place for more sort of face-to-face clinics again. I think a lot of people would really welcome the chance to revisit that and connect with their advisor. I kind of think maybe the dream would be a real mixture of options for our clients going forward.
No, absolutely. And I'm hearing that a lot from a lot of people around. You know, they'd forgotten how powerful picking up the telephone was and just having that conversation. You know, the nuance, you really have to listen. Whereas when you're in front of people, you're picking up the body language and you're picking up other environmental factors. But when you really have to listen. And I think that's been an incredibly powerful message for a lot of people during lockdown.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think what we found as well is that people kind of wanted to talk more than normal as well. Some people, our telephone call to them might be the only call they're going to get that day. So actually it's a really kind of vital way of keeping up communication, checking in on somebody. And I think what the team is really good at is that we're all naturally very caring and want to make sure that everyone's in as good a place. And if not, like I said, we've been really fortunate this year in that we've all gone on to do the accredited mental health first aid training course. We're all really well read up on the organisations that we can signpost to, so we're able to you know, support people as much as we are able to.
Absolutely. And my gut feel is that that's going to be a major activity for an awful lot of operators that work in a similar field to you guys with the Cheshire Change Hub and also with Brio Leisure. So Sarah, I'm going to have to say thank you so much for your time. Absolutely brilliant conversation. And I'm going to let you get back and home educate your children. So
thank you for having me.
I'm sure we'll meet soon. You take care. Thanks for your time, Sarah. Bye-bye.
Bye.